Joining me right now is Republican commentator Mercedes Schlapp, along with radio talk show host Leslie Marshall. Good to see you guys. Mercedes, what do you think George Soros' motive is here? What's Harry Reid's motive? These protesters, what are they all trying to do?
Well, I think part of it is promoting the chaos, and I think that it's not surprising that there's a Soros connection in pushing forward these protesters. You know, you have to also understand that it was a shell shock for these Democrats. They really believed that Hillary Clinton had it in the bag to win this election. So she loses this election. The Democrats do not gain majority of the Senate or the House, and they're stuck in a position of weakness. And so I think that obviously there are many of those peaceful protesters. They have the right to vote. I think to protest. I think that it's understandable that there's a sense of frustration and disappointment coming from their side. At the same time, we are seeing agitators, rioters, those individuals who are destroying public property. So it becomes a little more disturbing when you have the fact that it is from peaceful protesting to the fact that it is almost violence that we're seeing on the street.
Yeah, and again, I just want to remind the viewer, this is actually, let me confirm with our producer, Kara, this is correct, live. Okay, so these pictures are coming to us live from Los Angeles, from our affiliate there. You see, again, these kids staging a walkout in protest of Donald Trump. Leslie Marshall, you're from the Los Angeles area. Give us a sense of what you're hearing from some of those folks that are engaging in this kind of behavior.
Well, I am here in Los Angeles, Trish, and one of the things that people have to look at just from a numbers standpoint, in California, we have the largest number of Hispanics in the United States, the largest number of Muslims in the United States, and the largest number of undocumented workers. Some of these kids, and you have to remember in high school, they're not old enough to vote. So many of them felt that adults let them down. They can't vote. They're 16, they're 15 years of age. A lot of these kids are experiencing, as reports have been to the Anti-Defamation League or Southern Poverty Law Center, some hateful rhetoric in some of these schools. But for the most part, these kids are scared. They're scared their grandparents will be sent back, or that some of them who were born here will be separated from their families, or that had the protection coming here as infants without a right to say, hey, Mom, Dad, don't break the law. This is driven by the immigrant community.
I mean, I think he made it clear, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit with James Woolsey, but he made it pretty clear in the 60 Minutes interview that, yes, he is looking to deport people that are criminals, that are here illegally. But, Mercedes, it didn't sound like it was top of his list to get rid of everybody altogether that's here, by the way, illegally.
Well, and I think Speaker Ryan said there's not going to be this deportation squad. I think that the priority is, as Donald Trump has mentioned, are the criminals, to deport them first and foremost. I think the concern with the immigrant community is obviously the executive orders, the DACA, which are the Dreamers, here that, you know, our children of illegals who have been in the United States for years. That's about 800,000 children. There is that concern, but we have to remember that the priority here is enforcing immigration laws, and that is something that Donald Trump has mentioned as his priority. And guess what? Instead of executive orders, you got to pass it through Congress. If you need DACA to be passed through Congress, that has to be the priority, not through the president forcing it, you know, down people's throats, as we saw what happened.
You know, I think
in this case.
You know, it is. You know, these kids, they can't. Many of them can't vote. But yet they're fueled by something, which I have to imagine would be the adults around them, and we know academia in general has a lot of liberal-leaning adults. It feels as though right now, Leslie, and I talked to one protester over the weekend who said to me she's protesting because it's not acceptable that Donald Trump won, and it's simply not acceptable that he is our president. To which I say, yes, but you see, he won, and we are a democracy, and we have a process, and are you suggesting then that he be overturned in some way? I mean, I think there's an undercurrent here that we shouldn't forget about, and we've seen the violence there in Portland, Oregon. You see people sort of this groundswell trying to protest something that doesn't even really exist right now because the guy's not even in office, Leslie.
Well, a couple of things here. One of the things that is great about our democracy, and I want to point out that the overwhelming majority of protesters have been peaceful, and that's what our First Amendment is about. I think it's disgusting when anybody, any side of the aisle, is violent toward anyone in a protest or otherwise. But they have the right, and this is part of what makes America great, that they can march down streets. Please do not block traffic, and certainly do not have anything violent verbally or physically, because, you know, look, the presidency is not going to change for the next at least 4 years. years, Donald Trump will be president. But again, these people are angry. Some of them I'm angry at, Trish, who didn't come out to vote, who could vote, who may have stayed home in protest.
Yeah, you know, look, it's a very good
fear
point.
Fear is what is
well, you know, I think everybody needs to take a deep breath here. I think that, you know, the stock market is pretty indicative in terms of being a fear gauge or that lack thereof, and we're looking at a market that's actually at an all-time high. So, you know, take that one to bed with you, everyone that is so concerned, and there's this hysteria out there. Mercedes Leslie, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.